can either believe it or they cannot believe it. I don't give two but I am telling you right now, that back there is not real.
Me, it look like a leprechaun to me. All I gotta do is look up in the tree. Who else see the leprechaun? Say yeah!
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh.
Before, the Tic Tac type UFO was flying at such speed there that it barely was able to stay on their radar. They didn't get a chance to shoot it down yet.
It's all shifty lawyer talk. I mean, this is like lawyers have scripted this shit. It's just so shifty how the words they use, the language and all this sort of stuff. It's so calculated, and it's war propaganda.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Theorists for another week. Apologies for the couple of minutes late, and no, Andy, it's not.
Are you okay?
Right.
Are you okay, Tim? Like, you're not going to stutter because you've had way too much to drink. That's why tonight's show is late, because Tim has been having too many hard solos.
As I said to Naughty Design, hello to everyone in the chat. I only open a hard solo like 10 minutes before the show, but
That's what you say. That's what you say.
It was a StreamYard issue. Yes, because all other shows, all other streams are totally on time all the time. There's never any late one.
Well, look, if we're late, it's only going to be like 3 minutes. It's not going to be one of those 10-minute lateness ones. Those ones are real annoying.
Oh, you're on the white wines. Is it what is it? A Sauv Blanc, Chardonnay, or Riesling?
Just the cheapest. I'm not that fancy. It's Tuesday, so it's news day, which means that I can have some wine for the news. Tim, we've got a big show tonight, don't we? We've got some good stuff to talk about. We're going to start off with the grand final, aren't we?
Yes, and I notice you've got your jumper on. You had your heater on before because suddenly it is cold and wet here in Melbourne, while on grand final day it was nearly 30 degrees. The hottest...
Yes, and sorry, were you going to say, was it the hottest? What was it? Was it actually a record? Was it, or what?
It wasn't. They said the hottest grand final in about 8 years. So it had been hot, nearly 30 degrees on grand final day before, but when it happens in the current year, then it's huge story. And of course, the NRL Grand Final was super hot as well.
Yeah. The weather's doing strange things. And I wrote an article about it for The Unshackled, and maybe you can bring it up, Tim. And it says, is the government making it hot for the AFL Grand Final and for the NRL Grand Final? I honestly sus. And this weird weather we're having, and the wind is changing, like the temperature's changing to cold, hot, and then like rain and wind. And of course, we've got fires, and they kept on telling us, fires are coming, fires are coming, fires are coming. And I knew that they would make it windy, so then the fires would come and they possibly light them. And of course, we've got fires in Gippsland going on.
Yes,
but I'm actually. But anyway, in this article, is what I'm trying to say is that I'm suspicious that they made it hot specifically for the Victorian Grand Final and the New South Wales Grand Final, intentionally for global warming propaganda, because they did put out articles saying, "Oh, it was a really hot Grand Final," but I think it's unnaturally hot.
Oh, we do get over 20-degree days and warm and sunny in September. I mean, Melbourne, we've had grand finals where it has been raining. There's been the MCG turf has been full of mud, but it should be we should have been happy that it was a warm grand final day, though I wasn't happy at the end of the day with Collingwood winning by 4 points. And you posted on your Telegram channel, and people might accuse me of being sour grapes, but a Collingwood winning a grand final, it has the most amount of AFL members, over 100,000. What a Collingwood AFL Premiership would stimulate the struggling Victorian economy. I mean, Dan Andrews, he's bailed out last week. And so, obviously...
absolutely. The AFL is this big, huge event, and it's a real big Melbourne promotion event for Melbourne tourism and to get the city and the CBD booming. And on the grand final, on their backdrop, you could see Melbourne written as a part of one of the sponsors. And it was like, you could see lots of the words Melbourne written.
Melbourne.
So Melbourne, yes, the city of Melbourne, and it had like this V for Victoria. So the government basically was a part of the sponsorship of the AFL. And this grand final, and to them it's a big tourist event, and so I suggested before this grand final that they rigged it so that Collingwood could get into the grand final, and you said some strange stuff happened with the umpiring in the game the week before. What do you think about the umpiring of this grand final? Do you think it was rigged?
Oh, well, I obviously think the Lions was robbed. I mean, there was the advantage that was it was a free kick for there were two high tackles that outside the Brisbane Lions 50-meter mark with less than a minute to go. The one of the umpires there's now 4 field umpires this season, yet they still get all the decisions horrendously wrong. And
it's suspicious, isn't it? Because the week before Collingwood, because you couldn't have a grand final that Melbourne's sponsoring. You couldn't have a grand final without a Victorian team in it, and it really helps at having them win. But the game
Green really got his head ripped off last week in the prelim final, and yet it wasn't a free kick. I mean,
the game before
Toby Green.
The game before Collingwood just won, which it's suspicious. It's like someone's trying to help them
They
be a better team and win.
Win the close ones.
And then the grand final they just win, and it's almost suspicious, like someone's trying to help them win. Look, I heard from a friend when it comes to the American basketball that the referees would be told sometimes what to do before the game, like which team to help win. And
well,
we
have no evidence that the AFL, under the direction of the state Labor government, who are desperate for revenue and tourism, directed the umpires, hey, make sure that don't make it too obvious, but in the key crucial moments. Because remember, the goal to put Collingwood in front by 10 points in late in the last quarter by Steele's side bottom, that was from a 50-meter penalty. And they always seem, the umpires, give pay a mark to a Collingwood player who hadn't quite got the mark. And there was one where it was definitely touched by a Brisbane Lions player, and there was a Collingwood out on the full in the third quarter. It was called a boundary throw, and it was clearly out.
There's so much money involved with the grand final and football in Melbourne, and Collingwood's such a big team. You know what I mean? It's like so many supporters. It's just, they need to do this. I think they need to do it. And, we don't have evidence, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if they, because of the situation, because Melbourne being hit hard with all the lockdowns and everything, and the CBD being quiet and them trying to boo Melbourne, that they rigged it. Who did Collingwood beat to get into the grand final?
GWS by points, which has
that's exactly what I thought. I thought, of course, it would be a team that's not from Victoria. I thought, of course. So they had that game. I bet you against GWS, they looked at it and they were like, a Victorian team has to make this grand final.
Well, GWS beat Collingwood in the preliminary final in 2019, and the grand final between Richmond and GWS was a one-sided affair, so it was considered a boring grand final, but this was considered one of the best modern grand finals. Because Collingwood won by a close margin. I brought up the AFL membership figures here. So Collingwood, 106,000 members, and if you go down to Brisbane Lions, 56,000, GWS 33,000. So if it was between the Grand Final Brisbane Lions and GWS Giants, I mean, their combined membership doesn't equal Collingwood.
Yeah, I think it's this rigging games is kind of like the weather being controlled thing where we can't say for sure, but there's definitely evidence indicating that something is going on. So yeah, even when Western Bulldogs won the Premiership like around 2015, and it was an amazing win because they came out of nowhere. Like the previous year, 2016, the previous year they weren't even any good, and then suddenly they just came out of nowhere and won a Premiership. I'm a little bit suspicious about because I honestly believe that the AFL look at it and go, there are certain teams that just never win. We've got to give them a win and a surprise, and possibly they even put bets on it like earlier in the season because they knew it was.
Or remember
anyway,
last year, there was that umpire who was investigated for betting. Well, he was associated with bets on the Brownlow, and umpires cast the Brownlow votes.
Yeah, and there was a bit of a strangeness with the Brownlow this year, wasn't there?
Oh well, the Brownlow always it's always a midfielder who wins. The umpires always award it to midfielders. I mean, Brisbane Lion captain Lachie Neale won it. It wasn't Collingwood's Nick Dacos. That's another thing about Collingwood. They benefit from the father-son rule. I mean, there's two Dacos brothers, sons of Peter Dacos, Josh and Nick, and then obviously the captain, Darcy Moore, son of Peter Moore. He presented the Premiership Cup to his son, and the Herald Sun today that has a Darcy Moore poster there. So if you're a male footy fan and put a Darcy Moore poster like in your bedroom, your friend who might not be familiar with footy come over and say, "Hey, who's the chick on the wall there?"
Yeah, I saw that when I saw him on the screen there. When I was watching the game, I thought he looks like a tranny. I mean, I'm suspicious that when Richmond won their string of premierships, that it happened because the president was a woman. Like, honestly, that's how I think, like, how far they're willing to go with their conspiracies. I don't think it's ridiculous. I think it's, like, possible that they were, like, they told the umpire, like, they look at the teams that are good teams, and they go, well, Richmond's got a female premiership, a female president. This would be good propaganda, and they've got a lot of supporters, so let's let them win, and it would, like, anyway, we should switch topics, but there's more going on, I reckon.
Well, obviously, the Herald Sun, as I mentioned, I mean, they're having their souvenir editions of the papers for Collingwood's victories, because newspapers are dying. But if you sell them as a Collingwood Premiership souvenir edition, you're going to sell more. And obviously, Collingwood has the most membership, so it's good for the footy media as well. I mean, they always pump up Collingwood because more viewership, more papers, everything.
Yeah, and I reckon that they don't want them to win all the time, but I think that anyway, it's just interesting because honestly, a year ago, I didn't even think the AFL was rigged, but now that all these things have happened, I'm suspicious it's rigged. So speaking of rigging, let's move on to the next subject about the voice and postal votes. And there's evidence now to me that's looking like they're going to rig this voice thing, because I was thinking maybe it's not going to be rigged. But now I'm starting to think as we get closer to it, something's going on. You've got some information about that, Tim. Do you have a news report to show?
Well, Sam Newman, he said on his You Cannot Be Serious podcast that No will easily win. We should know on referendum night, within, I'd say, the first hour, that No is going to win in a landslide. And unless it's rigged, that's what Sam Newman said. It'll be a no vote unless it's rigged. And just going back to the AFL Grand Final for a moment, nobody booed, probably too scared to boo Uncle Colin's welcome to country. Ricky T was certainly too scared. He puts Collingwood above his principles. But how did your event go at Jollymont Station to try and encourage booing to welcome to country?
Well, I tried to get it viral, and it got, a lot more views than my posts usually get. Aussie Cossack shared it, which was pretty cool, and that got it up to like 8,000 views. But my dad went there. I didn't even bother going, but he said he didn't see anyone. But the type of people... Anyway, you need to, when you're arranging a protest or whatever, you need to have a lot of people sharing the post in order to get enough people to rock up. But also within the stadium, maybe some people did turn their back or did yell out boo, but it wouldn't have been picked up unless a lot of people go along with it. But the sort of people who go to the grand final, they're so happy to get a ticket. They don't want to get kicked out.
Like Ricky T.
Yeah, they don't want to get kicked out. And also, let's be honest, they're normies. A lot of them, I assume, are normies. And normies aren't going to do something wild like booing the welcome to country. But I reckon that a home and away season game, like maybe the Aboriginal round, I reckon that there's a potential there for someone to start up a big booing thing at those games. The ones where they're not that expensive, where anyone can go to, there's a chance. So if someone's listening to this and they want to go and boo something at the ABBA round, please go and do it, because we need to send the message to the government to shut up. And can I say something as well? It's even if the government was telling us about purple t-shirts or something like that, like it wasn't Aboriginal, they just kept on going purple t-shirts, we're for purple t-shirts, blah, blah, blah. I would still be totally against it, and I'll still be totally pissed off with the government. It's not necessarily that it's Aboriginals, it's just that I don't like the government brainwashing us and just keep on saying, oh, like if they said welcome to purple t-shirt land, I would be cool. Like I wouldn't be cool with it. It's the brainwashing, and it's the continual them just fucking being annoying. That's what it is.
Well, there is a purple t-shirt day. That's the Wear It Purple Day, which is another LGBTQI day for youth.
Oh, really? They've hijacked the color. They've hijacked the color purple.
Along with all the other colors of the rainbow.
Wow.
Yeah, but so yes, the early voting has commenced. Now, I saw a few patriots, such as Blair Cottrell and Reg Penny from New South Wales Patriots against the extreme left, already cast an early ballot. I would encourage people to wait until referendum day, because then when you cast your vote on the day, it's going to be counted on the night. They don't count the pre-poll until like very late at night. So it's going to sit in like a tub somewhere for 2 weeks. And so if you want a result on referendum night, because the electoral commissioner, Tom Rogers, has said that we might not know the outcome on election night because of all the postal votes, and also they don't count the pre-poll until later in the night. We should know if because the polls have only ever been wrong in Australian political history at the 2019 federal election. So they'd have to be way off. There was a essential poll today which had yes gaining ground. They're now at 43%, no at 49%. But it sort of makes me sort of wonder, like, how can you know that you're not going to count all the vote on election night? I mean, shouldn't you make it so that pretty much all, even the postal that come early? I mean, why are you putting out this information?
Tim, you've got some more information about how it might be getting rigged. Like, you've got, is it a news report or something about how they were sending people multiple ballots who were doing postal voting?
Yes, like postal votes. I couldn't believe this.
A hiccup as early voting kicked off in the Voice referendum 2 weeks before the poll date. Some voters have received 2 voting slips, but the Electoral Commission says it's nothing to worry about.
1 house, 2 voters and 4 ballot papers.
That one and that one the same, and these 2 are the same.
Terry and Kay Guest became concerned when they received not 1 but 2 postal votes each.
They said to just disregard one of them and shred it if possible.
The Electoral Commission says postal votes will be marked off the roll, so you can't vote twice. For those unable to vote on October 14, early voting booths open this week.
To get it over and done with. It's easier than standing in a long queue.
But there still won't be any avoiding the spruikers.
Good afternoon, vote no. There's not much to know, is there?
Yes, exactly. That's exactly right.
No is what we have now, right now, where we have an 8-year life expectancy gap, where we have a greater chance of an Indigenous young male going to jail than university.
But the PM's message doesn't seem to be resonating. Polling shows the yes vote falling to just 33%.
Just have to write the word that you want to choose.
Okay, cool.
Okay?
Early voting began today in the Northern Territory, Tasmania, Victoria and WA, and tomorrow in the ACT, New South Wales, Queensland and South Australia. Not everyone can vote early. You will be asked to provide a reason, and that could include working, travelling or being outside of your electorate on referendum day. Not voting will attract a $20 fine. Melina Saris, 7 News.
Now, when are you planning to vote, Andy?
Oh, like on the day.
Yeah, so I think we're both in agreement on that one. Now, the AEC spokesman, he was so Evan Erkin Smythe, he was on with Neil Mitchell this morning, and he said that the multiple ballots, he said there were a small number of complaints, and it's the fault of the people who received them. He said the ones we've had reported to us, it's been a multitude of errors on the voters' side, unfortunately. And the AEC, they're very defensive on Twitter if somebody dare queries occurrences such as these. It's like, how dare you question us? We are the best electoral commission organization in the world. How dare you say anything against us?
It reminds me of when you catch somebody who's done something dodgy and they instantly flare up, and it's like, oh, there's something there. That person's being on the defensive because they're trying to get us to go away from the trail because we're following the trail and catching on to it. Anyway, this is...
It says the purple on the yes 23 how to vote, and so the yes 23 signs outside the polling stations, they look almost completely the same. Like, this is from a distance. Vote yes, the purple there almost looks exactly the same as the voting center purple there. Like, you can see this.
Do you know what that? I feel like that it shows how the system. It's the yes is in with the system. I mean, you look up the Wikipedia page of this referendum, and the yes, the amount of organisations and government thingos and corporations that are supporting the yes side. You scroll through it, and it scrolls through for ages, and then the vote no. It's just like this little section. And it's just like, this is so, it's in a way, it's so rigged because it's like you got so much backing for the yes campaign. It's just ridiculous.
And this evening, I couldn't believe the official Yes 23 Twitter account put this out. So it says if you vote no, and it has a cross there, develop policies for Indigenous Australians without advice. That is false because there is so many Indigenous advisory bodies already, and so it has a cross and says same old failures, and then it says for vote yes, develop policies with Indigenous Australians listening to advice, and it has a tick better results. And remember when the Electoral Commissioner Tom Rogers he said that a tick will count for yes, but a cross won't count for no. And he said this is under the law. This is the under the savings provisions of the referendum mechanics. Now, to make your vote count, there's a blank box. You either vote yes, write yes in English, or to vote no, write no in English, and no. Obviously, if you want to cast a valid no vote, which is what pretty much everyone in this audience is going to do, write no in English on that blank a box where it says, do you approve of this proposed alteration? So why is the yes campaign? Remember, they said, oh, this is just a crazy conspiracy theory that people are going to get confused by ticks and crosses. Yeah, why have they done this?
Yeah, because they're trying to confuse people to try and rig it. Basically, it's like, I remember how that first came out like a month ago or whatever, when they were saying it was like, we're going to include the tick as a yes, but the cross we're not going to include. That was like, why are they doing that? That's a bit strange. And then we see this, and it's like, if people had never shared that in the first place, like a month or so ago, and raised awareness on that issue, they might have put out heaps of advertising that showed these ticks and these crosses and confused the shit out of the public. So then they got lots of people doing ticks and crosses, because if lots of people do ticks or crosses, it's going to be rigged towards the ticks, which is the yes vote.
I remember listening to one of Sam Newman's podcasts, and he was confused. He thought that there was a yes and a no box, which there's not. And so luckily he had a producer on standby to correct
can I say sorry? Why wouldn't they have that? See, that's what it should be. It should just be yes for the voice or no for the voice, and you tick whatever box is, or you put ink in whatever thingo is, and they consider whatever's got ink.
Survey form.
Yeah, and if there's ink in both of them, then the person has to ask for another ballot or something like that. Anyway, what were you saying about Sam?
Yeah, Sam Newman, he was confused, despite him being a firm no for the voice. He thought that there were going to be two boxes and thought they weren't going to count if you crossed one of the yes or no boxes, then it wouldn't be counted. So even and if Sam Newman's confused, he's committed to no, then there's going to be so many others who are going to be confused as well. Because you have to remember, there's a lot of people who still know nothing about what this referendum is about, and they'll just turn up on the day and
exactly. And it reminds me of how they make it where they force you to vote in these things. You're forced to vote. So then there are heaps of people who don't fill it out incorrectly, or that they fill out joke ones. And then it enables more room for manipulation and rigging and stuff like that. But that thing you showed that they shared, that is confusing the public. And I think it's intentional. It's just, anyway, we'll see what happens. But I mean, yeah, it's looking like they might actually rig this. Like, it's crazy, but yeah.
It would take a lot of voter confusion and also a massive voter fraud operation. The AEC maintains that a person can't vote twice by post, but did post on Twitter today that if someone votes at two different polling places within their electorate and places their formal vote in the ballot box at each polling place, their vote is counted. We cannot remove the vote from the count because due to the secrecy of the ballot, we have no way of knowing which ballot paper belongs to which person. However, the number of double votes received is incredibly low and usually related to mental health or age. But they did put out another tweet where they said if there was somebody on the electoral roll who voted 8 times, then that's when they would begin a fraud investigation. But there's no voter ID in Australian federal elections, and there's no way to check if somebody's already voted, because remember, they have the massive phone books and they just ask you to confirm your name and address. And I remember 20 years ago, in the 2004 federal election, a radio personality, Fifi Box, she said, "Oh, I don't vote. My mum takes my vote. She goes to the voting booth and says she's me." And so because Fifi Box doesn't want to vote, her mum, she said on air that her mum in previous elections had voted for herself and for her.
It's dodgy.
And
look, all these government departments and all these corporations are on the yes side. So the AEC, the Electoral Commission, is likely on the yes side.
Because the reason why there is no voter ID, because that's racist. But vaccine passports, they're definitely not racist. I mean, but apparently black and brown people, they don't have any form of ID. So therefore, voter ID is racist.
And also the Yes campaign is denying that Aboriginals are involved with a lot of rape and molestation and what's the word when you cannibalism, basically. And
that was a new documentary that was put forward on the channel. I have to make sure I get the channel name right. It is called Black. What is it called? YouTube.
Well, look, in my family background, one of them used to run a postal shop in Queensland or something, and he came across one of the tribes, and he saw there like a 3-year-old kid getting cooked up, and I think they might have been. I don't know if
blacklisted research. That's the YouTube channel. Now, some might say,
or hold on a second. Let me just finish it. Anyway, I know you're drunk, Tim, but let me just finish what I was going to say. So the kid was getting cooked up, and I think it was to eat, And so, like, they really do, the Aboriginals really did practice cannibalism. It's not a lie. It's just totally true.
But what's that got to do with the Voice, a referendum vote?
Well, because the leftists and the Yes campaign are denying what the Aboriginal history is. They give you a whitewashed history of the Aboriginals.
So you're advocating a no vote because Aboriginal culture is primitive?
Well, yeah, partially. Well, there's many reasons why, but one of them is that you don't want to give more power to the Aborigines.
I do know that,
because they develop societies and cultures where they cook babies, and it's just you sabotaging your society. If there was an Aboriginal running for Prime Minister, I wouldn't go along with it because I'll be like, you guys, you're not good. Basically, a lot of Aboriginals are criminals. That's just absolute fact. That's an absolute fact.
Well, I haven't watched this documentary. I know that ABC Investigations, they did a hit piece doxing who they alleged was the operator of blacklisted research. I know that there are some pro-Voice advocates who say that the Voice will help protect traditional Aboriginal culture if that has occurred, as in some areas of the past as in Aboriginal communities, then obviously we wouldn't want any of that constitutionally protected. But I don't think that that's part of their culture, though they do have it. Has been, Jacinda Price talked about it at the National Press Club, that in traditional Aboriginal culture, there is underage arranged marriages, there's polygamy.
Yeah, and there's a lot of molestation problems. It's just... The leftists are just, of course, they would team up with a group of people that have a lot of problems and try and make out them to be saints. And there's something just so wrong with the leftists. But anyway, the Voice thing is just a joke because the Aboriginals, they got all this money from the government all the time. It's just crazy with all their welfare they get and stuff. And then they've also got the vote. So what more do they want? It's just like, just back off and shut up. And it's like, if you feel like you're not empowered by having a vote or getting government welfare, you're not empowered. Of course you're not. We're all not freaking empowered. The vote's bullshit. You don't get much from it. A lot of the elections are rigged anyway. If you want to solve a problem like Aboriginals dying early or Aboriginals not going to university, all that shit, you have to do it yourself. Don't turn to the government. The government will always trick you and say, we'll help you with healthcare and we'll give you this and we'll do that and we'll blah, 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 blah. It's all a scam. We'll look after you with the police. We'll do this. No. They won't do anything if your house gets broken into. It's all bullshit. The government's all bullshit.
You are spreading misinformation, and the ABC is on hand to, well, they've got their voice referendum section, and they said, yes, campaigners say they are fighting to beat misinformation, and hundreds of thousands of votes are cast early, because any concerns that you have about unintended consequences about the voice, which are all legitimate, that's just all mis and disinformation. And though Anthony Albanese, he let it seemed he let the cat out of the bag. This is what Anthony Albanese said yesterday, what will happen if you vote yes.
United Nations will control all land in Australia. All land. You will lose private ownership of everyone's home will go with a yes vote.
He just admitted,
and he twists, and he's joking when he's saying that, but he's twisting it by saying you're going to lose ownership of your home. It's like that's a lie in itself. Like he's mentioning like the rights argument, and then he mentions it in an incorrect way to discredit it, and that's such a typical tactic that they use. You know what I mean?
But because the yes campaign is losing, they are already chucking a hissy fit saying that, it's because of all the spread of misinformation or from white supremacist channels such as I keep forgetting the name. It is Blacklisted Research. So they're blaming all of this white supremacist propaganda. They've also blamed Russian interference because Aussie Cossack helped organize the No rally in Sydney. There was also somebody alleged that the Russian consulate sent all the free beers down to the Celebrate Dan Andrews resignation event last Wednesday. They tried to claim that everyone was drinking free beer paid for by Russia. But that's not misinformation.
They've ruined the definition of the word racist, Nazi, and now disinformation. So those words, because they just throw them out, these leftists just throw them out so often and label anything that, the average person hears this use of this word and it becomes not what it's sort of supposed to be, and they confuse it and they're just shooting themselves in the foot. Anyway, it's just ridiculous.
And
what else do we have?
Well, Noel Pearson, he is also trying his best to claim that the voice referendum is not about race. It's about recognizing Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here first. They are a race of people, while they're a collection of races and ethnicity. Like, if that's not gaslighting 101.
And do all these fucking leftists and Aboriginals realize that you guys are siding with the system and all this leftist bullshit and Labor and all that shit, which wants this place flooded with immigrants to come and steal more and more land from the Aboriginals? Aboriginals, do you like that? You know what I mean? Like, if you're an Aboriginal and you're for the voice, you're just dumb. You don't get it. The side that you're going with want more and more Chinese people, so you won't have your land if you're so obsessed with your freaking land.
The Voice Truth Treaty Makarata, it's not about having a treaty or getting reparations off Chinese Australians. It's about getting reparations and a treaty off white Australians. That's also another thing Noel Pearson has said. He said to a multicultural, non-white, non-Aboriginal Australians, where do you fit in? Are you with the British mob? Because it's not clear. He basically belled the cat there, that basically he's still thinking in the black and white, the Aboriginal and European Australia.
Yeah, I saw that. That was good because he's not going along with the narrative that they like. It's like when Kamal went on the project recently and he sort of throws them off by saying things that are outside their bullshit thingo. What we're dealing with is a fucking society that's been taken over by a cult. Because I used to be a part of a cult, I know how it is. It's like you have this group that has these ideas running through the group continually, and they control everything to make sure those ideas keep on running through. And then when you're in it, you can see that there's problems with those ideas, and you're pissed off that you're continually getting these ideas slammed down your throat. And that's what's happening with this leftist cult that's taken over the West. And they're just fucking idiots. And they just keep on pumping all these stupid things, and they can't handle outside ideas that challenge their thing, and it's just all retarded. But anyway, can we move on from The Voice, because it's all stupid bullshit?
Oh, well, now the Yes campaign, they triggered that Clive Palmer, he's donated $2 million to the No campaign. He and Craig Kelly, they tried to take the AEC to court to have them count crosses as no. The AEC took Craig Kelly to court last election, claiming his authorization was too slow, but that was too small. Sorry, the text was too small, but that got thrown out of court. The AEC was forced to pay the United Australia Party and Craig Kelly court costs. But Patrick Gorman, the Labor member for Perth, he's trying to get the West Australians to switch their vote to yes, because the enemy of the state during COVID is now backing no. This was his video on his ex-Twitter.
Remember this guy? Clive Palmer. You might have read a bit about him. He's had a particularly interesting relationship with Western Australia. And today we learn that Clive Palmer is going to spend $2 million to back the No campaign. Can't say I'm surprised, but I am disappointed. What we know is that time and time again, Clive Palmer lines up with the Liberal Party. He did that to attack Western Australia during the peak of the pandemic, and now he's lining up with Peter Dutton once again to back the No campaign. You have to ask yourself, what's made Mr. Palmer have his personal mining company back the No campaign? And why has he waited just 16 days to tell Australians that he's pumping millions of dollars into the No campaign? Reject Clive Palmer, vote yes.
Oh my God, he is such the most annoying voice ever, this Patrick Gorman.
Let's just move on from all this bullshit. Like, what else we got? I mean, Daniel Andrews, I got a little segment I want to have on this show that's post of the week, and it's one of my posts on Telegram that gets the most amount of views. And it was a post about Daniel Andrews this week and how he's getting a big pension. So he stayed... Yeah, he stayed in office long enough to qualify to get the stupid bronze statue and to get a $300,000 pension. Does he still get it if he works other jobs, Tim?
Yeah, he still gets it. It's not if he gets another job, I don't know, overseas, he still gets the pension. Same with former politicians and former prime ministers. I mean, when they get a cushy job on a board, though the federal pension has been gotten rid of at the federal level, though MPs elected before 2004 still get it. So Anthony Albanese will get a federal pension. Dan Andrews has been in Parliament for 21 years and been Premier. That's why he gets such a juicy pension. He's already hit the golf course, Dan Andrews, and given that he banned golf during COVID, he hasn't been received well by members of his golf club.
Why, do you have some footage of that?
I don't.
That'll be good to have footage of, but yeah, he's going to leave the state for sure because he's just so hated. He's going to leave the state totally.
I mean, a lot of people say when someone they don't like leaves, don't let the door hit you on the way out. With Dan, it's watch the steps on your way out.
Yeah. So, do you have a news report here about these German boats being funded? These boats to Italy of refugees being funded by the German government?
Yes, I do. So you remember that Giorgia Meloni, she's basically just given up controlling Italy's borders and invited...
Because it's out of her control. It's run by the CIA and stuff.
EU President Ursula von der Leyen, who's an ex-German politician, to come to that island where all those African men have arrived. So this is the SBS News report with...
European leaders have been meeting to... Social media giant X has scrapped the... European leaders have been meeting to discuss the ongoing migrant crisis as pressure mounts on the EU to strike a new migration and asylum agreement. The number of crossings in the Mediterranean has soared this year, as has the number of people drowned or missing.
Eyes in the sky off the Libyan coast. German NGO Sea-Watch filming as a Libyan Coast Guard inflatable collides with a boat packed with migrants.
Yeah, sinking.
It's sinking, yeah. I think the rib crashed in.
Yeah, the rib crashed into
Mayday, 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 mayday relay, mayday relay, mayday relay. People in the water, people in the water.
They keep rolling, capturing the chaos below.
50 people overboard. Immediate assistance is required. Over.
Berlin has confirmed it's financially supporting 3 German NGOs operating in the Mediterranean, which regularly take migrants to Italy. News that angered the Italian government, which is struggling to cope with a surge in migrant numbers. According to the UN Refugee Agency, more than 180,000 people have arrived in Europe via the Mediterranean so far this year, the majority to Italy. Billionaire Elon Musk weighed in on the debate, sharing a post which criticises the German government's handling of illegal migration on his social media platform X, formerly known as Twitter, saying, "Is the German public aware of this?" The German Foreign Office responding with a curt yes, and it's called Saving Lives. The European Union is still negotiating a new migration pact.
Italy, together with Malta and other frontline nations, suffers the most from strong migratory pressure. Anyone who believes, given the situation the African continent is experiencing, the migration problem could be contained within the borders of a single European nation is hugely mistaken.
At the Med9 summit in Malta, leaders of Mediterranean and Southern European nations agreed unity is key.
The only way forward, if we want to find a solution, is to be united. No single state, no single nation can find a solution to this really huge challenge ahead of us.
The UNHCR revealing 2,500 people have died or gone missing in the Mediterranean so far this year. Tanya Dandrinos, SBS World News.
And now...
Yeah. Well, sorry, I'm just saying, if I was in an airport and I was like going up to people like, here, I'll help you go into Italy like illegally and stuff. Like, yeah, you don't have a passport or whatever and you just want to get in. Come on, I'll help you. I'll give you tea and I'll give you some money. Like, I should get locked up for that. And that's what's going on with Germany, helping these refugees go into Italy. And these people aren't at dire straits. I think maybe that's the word. I don't know. They're not that desperate.
Migrants.
They're coming from, yeah, exactly. They're coming from Mexico, countries that are okay in Northern Africa, and then they're trying to get into Europe from there. It's all bullshit. It's all being run by the intelligence agencies. They're probably doing it because they're killing us using vaccines, so they need people to work at fucking Safeway packing the shelves and shit. That's probably why they're doing it, and they're bringing them in that way. But it's all bullshit, and it's really messed up.
I mean, Australia managed to stop the boats twice. And now even the Albanese government, I mean, they have kept the boats away. They are turning back boats. And so we get Indonesia's cooperation with this. Yet all of these European nations, they cannot... you heard Giorgia Meloni there say, oh, we can't possibly stop the boats. I know that Katie Hopkins, she advocated for the Australian solution, as it was called back in 2013, when she had a mainstream media column, she said rescue boats, I'd use gunships to stop migrants. And she said, no, I don't care. Show me pictures of coffins. Show me bodies floating in the water, playing violins, and show the skinny people looking sad. And you saw the Libyan Coast Guard there. They just like destroyed that ship. They're more they're taking more severe actions on people actually leaving their country.
Yeah, I know. By helping them get to Italy is encouraging more people to do the same thing. It's outrageous, and it's classic double think. That's what leftists do. That's what we're rife with, double think. In that, like, if you're in an airport trying to fly into Italy or something, they'll cause big dramas if you don't have the right paperwork and all this bullshit. And they don't get up, like, it's just, but then when it comes to refugees, it's like, oh, that's okay, whatever. It's just shiftiness.
Now, so let's move on to it's Nobel Prize season, and the winners of the Nobel Prize for medicine in physiology or medicine were awarded to Catalin Chiraco and Drew Wiseman for their discoveries concerning nucleoside-based modifications that enabled the development of the COVID mRNA vaccines for Pfizer and Moderna. And they clearly are so proud of their safe and effective mRNA vaccines that they are still wearing masks. Like what? Like this is the thing about the COVIDians, the COVID crazies.
The double think is just off the scales. It's just double think. Just totally.
Take all the vaccines, but they don't work very well. That's why you've got to keep wearing a mask, but still take them all.
It's just like everything. What's down is up, and what's up is down. Everything's backwards in a leftist world because they make everything retarded, and they shit all over logic and reality and everything. So the Nobel Prize, of course, isn't actually this prize that you're so noble and perfect and great. Whatever you've done. The truth is it actually means that you're evil and you've done something evil and bad. And so the fact that they got this award is just like, yeah, that just proves that they're bad. The fact that's evidence that, oh, you've got to question this vaccine big time, the fact that they gave them a Nobel Prize for it. You know what I mean? Like you got to not take it, basically.
Well, I haven't looked through all the Nobel laureates over the years to assess their credibility, but we do know that Barack Obama won the Nobel Peace Prize before he even became president. And what is it? He started at least, I think, 3 wars. He started the civil war in Libya, Syria, and also the proxy war in Saudi Arabia and Yemen. So that's at least 3 wars that I can think of.
Yeah, and like the definition of those other words we'll talk about, like disinfo, if they just keep on giving out the Nobel Prize to people who are pumping propaganda out, like people wake up that the Nobel Prize isn't a respectable thing, and people wake up to what's going on, and they're just waking up to the bullshit that's going on, and it means nothing that they got this. I don't even believe that they invented mRNA technology. Probably got developed
No, they didn't. Were, go back to, they discovered a particular nucleoside base modification. So
because look, they gave it to a woman. Like there's a woman there. Like I bet you that's just propaganda. Like it was probably developed in a deep underground base in the 70s, ages ago, by the deep state, and they actually invented it. And then these people, they set it all up so that they leaked it to the public, and those people took credit. It's just all bullshit. Everything's a lie.
Now, on a completely unrelated matter, it was interesting, another 7 News report. 7 News, it was the worst news outlet during COVID, probably even worse than the ABC. But they put out a health PSA about, in the worst ever cardiac arrest statistics for Victoria.
Cardiac arrest incidents are at the highest ever recorded in Victoria, prompting health officials to launch a critical awareness campaign. We are now joined by Ambulance Victoria paramedics Bethany Burkett and Caitlin Bale. Good afternoon to you, ladies. Caitlin, last year paramedics responded to more than 7,000 cardiac arrest patients. How concerning are these statistics?
Yeah, look, these numbers are really concerning. Last year in Victoria, the cardiac arrest rates increased by 6%. And in our state alone, each day, about 20 people have a cardiac arrest. Unfortunately, only about 2 of those survive.
Now, you both recently helped to save an 8-year-old who went into cardiac arrest. Her mum actually began CPR before first responders arrived. Bethany, is this just a perfect example of why CPR training is so important?
Yeah, absolutely. This is the perfect example. Our little patient's mum did an amazing job. She had recently done her CPR training at her workplace, so she was able to recognise the signs of a cardiac arrest and recognise what her daughter needed, and was able to start that CPR straight away while she was waiting for us to come. It's absolutely pertinent in the chain of survival for her daughter and for anyone in cardiac arrest to start that early CPR, and she did an amazing job, and she's a big part of the reason why this little girl is here with us today.
Oh, what an incredible story. Caitlin, is there a concern that not enough people are trained in CPR?
Yeah, look, it's a really big concern. It's not uncommon, unfortunately, for us to go to patients in cardiac arrest who aren't having any CPR performed, despite there being quite a few people on scene. So we've heard that basically if for every minute that CPR isn't performed, that patient's chance of survival decreases by 10%. So the more people that know CPR, the better.
Yeah. Caitlin, can you talk?
So the lesson from this report is learn how to perform CPR.
I bet you they were lesbian paramedics, because lesbians tend to be paramedics.
Well, let's not make any assumptions. I have no idea.
Would you like to jump in bed with those 2 girls? Would you enjoy that, Tim?
They're not my type. What about you, Nolch?
I think that would be. I would enjoy jumping in bed with them. But it's okay, Tim. You can admit that you swing both ways. You don't have to, try and cover it up.
I don't know what you're talking about, but we shouldn't. After Lawrence Fox he got cancelled for saying that he wouldn't shag a woman. Maybe we shouldn't talk about.
He got cancelled on, was it YouTube or something?
GB News. He said he wouldn't shag this repulsive fourth wave feminist Ava.
So he got in trouble for saying something against feminism.
Well, yes, you know a lot about that, Andy.
I certainly do. You don't want to go against the feminist agenda. It's all about stopping women making babies, and they don't want the population to increase, so they want everyone to be these lesbian paramedics that don't have any children. You're looking a bit drunk there, Tim. I noticed that when you get drunk, instead of looking straight towards the camera, you're on the side like this. Like that's what you like when you're drunk and you're doing a bit of that.
I'm looking at the comments. I'm also monitoring the live stream,
and I'm sure you're struggling after all those hard solos you've had. But that's interesting that we're having the highest ever cardiac arrest, isn't it? It doesn't have anything to do with that Nobel Prize winning technology that they got the award for.
Well, the COVIDians, the COVID crazies, they believe that all of these cardiac arrests are caused by long COVID. Everything's caused by long COVID. So we might both have long COVID and not even know it. Like, we feel fine. That's because our brain has been fogged to think that we're fine with long COVID.
Yeah.
It also reminds me, I'm glad that I said on my show last night, I'm glad Alex Jones's predictions about a potential, mask and restrictions coming back by October for a full lockdown by Christmas doesn't seem to be happening. And Alex Jones will be glad that he is not being proven right on this one.
Yeah, it's great. I'm not surprised. I feel like they pushed it so far with what they did that like you just couldn't do it again. Like you just like, but I think that they could do a mini one, and so that's why I was thinking maybe they're going to do some sort of mini thing, like, oh, we got this COVID's coming back a little bit, we just need to lock down a little bit or something like that.
Maybe something else like bird flu.
Yeah, maybe there, but maybe they're not even going to do mini ones. Maybe they've achieved what they needed to do or whatever, and
They
they're
need
going to
something for 2024 for the mail-in ballots in both the UK and the US because Donald Trump, a New York judge is trying to take Trump Tower off him. How insane is that?
I know. Can you fix your glasses, Tim? They're a bit crooked. Sorry, viewers. It's all the solos that he's had. These hard solos that he likes to have. Anyway, look, we've got to finish off the show. But the last thing I want to say is that obviously they're trying to screw over Trump. And by the way, can I say something as well? I agree that Trump did dodgies in his financials and did dodgies while he was a top businessman. That's what all top businessmen do. That's how the world operates. And I'm sure Trump, but if you're a leftist and you go along with the system, you get away with all the dodgies and you can be really freaking dodgy. But if you're a right winger, just anything you do wrong, you get into trouble. Can I say something about the US government and it being shut down? So they're not shutting down the US government. It was going to happen because they had problems passing this spending bill or whatever. But it's not going to get shut down. But they have stopped the some sort of funding for Ukraine. So that's kind of interesting.
Because Kevin McCarthy, he tricked the mega Republicans. I mean, they should be saying, well, I'm not sure how many times Kevin McCarthy may have fooled them, but remember, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. But Matt Gaetz, he's not going to be fooled again, so he's trying to oust Kevin McCarthy because he snuck in the aid for Ukraine. And Kevin McCarthy, he has previously been on record that he would rather get through this spending bill than stay House Speaker.
What's interesting is that Poland, I think, is stopping funding to Ukraine, and in Slovakia, a government that's pro-Russian which
is actually a socialist party.
Yeah, which is about to win, and they're not going to do funding for Ukraine as well. So it looks like the next year or so, the Ukraine war is going to die down. I don't think it's ever going to go away, but I guess that's good news for the Ukrainians. But yeah, there's not going to be as much action with the war because their agenda to fight the Russians is sort of dying off.
And obviously, given last week we covered that. Well, it wasn't Justin Trudeau; it was the now former Speaker of the Canadian House of Commons, Anthony Rowe, accidentally invited a 98-year-old Ukrainian Nazi to the Canadian Parliament, and I'll just bring this up now. So this is from Politico Europe. I'll just bring it up here. Have I got it here? No, I don't think I've got it here. Keep talking, Andy, while I get this.
Sorry again. This is just a Tim thing with his alcohol problem. I just hope that he's not doing it every night because it's not good for your health. So we'll see what happens.
But this is Politico Europe. It said, fighting against the USSR didn't necessarily make you a Nazi.
Yeah, even though they were
this is being community noted on Twitter. The Waffen SS soldiers, they pledged a personal allegiance to Adolf Hitler.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's it. That's about it for the show, isn't it, Tim?
Yep. Will I see you at the March for the Babies on Saturday? I know that there's those that are in Melbourne. It is the annual March for the Babies on the first Saturday in October to commemorate, to remember all of the babies who've been murdered since the passage of the Abortion Law Reform Act of 2008, which legalized abortion up until birth. Daniel Andrews was the health minister there. It's led by former Liberal MLC and Democratic Labor Party MLC Bernie Finn, who's now running for the Family First Party. I'll be covering it there for the Unshackled. Are you going, Andy?
No, because I'm not particularly passionate about the abortion debate.
You're happy with babies being killed?
Yeah, because I want leftists and degenerates to be able to abort their kids because I don't want them passing on their terrible DNA. So it's kind of like an interesting question, the whole abortion issue thing, because it's like, you know, those leftists, just go ahead, please. I want them to be, they should sterilize themselves pretty much. So, yeah.
Well, that doesn't mean a child has to die.
Well, I mean, it's you're trying to spark up a debate, Tim, are you? Trying to get some drama going on.
You're embracing eugenics.
Absolutely. I think that we should embrace eugenics. I'm not for the mean version of eugenics that's going on, but I am for
the Nazi version.
No, just the the vaccine thing. That's eugenics and stuff that's going on. But yeah, I do believe it's just a bunch of cells or whatever that's growing, and I think
when does it become a baby? I mean,
I don't know at what point. Probably when it's come out of the mother. But I tell you what, if I was a leftist bunch of cells or little baby leftist, I would want to get aborted. So, the argument's not going to work on me, Tim. I don't want to have a leftist as my parents. I would want to get killed. Please kill me if I'm going to have to put up with leftist parents.
Well, that's your personal preference, but a unborn baby is innocent, and of course, it is at the mercy of the people outside. And abortion,
Tim, by encouraging leftists to not have abortion, you're encouraging leftists to pass on their error-filled DNA. Do you want more and more error-filled DNA? Do you want more and more degenerates? Do you want more degenerates?
You know that motherhood and fatherhood also can cure people from being lefty degenerates. I mean, even Clementine Ford has mellowed as a feminist since she's raising a son. So there you go.
I don't know, but I believe in the DNA theory. So we're basically everything is a DNA code, like cats, us. We're DNA codes, and leftists have bad DNA codes, and I don't want those codes getting passed on. Basically, if they want to have an abortion, I think that's fantastic. I mean, I would encourage them to do it. Basically,
you believe leftism is genetic?
Yes, I believe it's error in their DNA and that they're faulty and they're like bad products. So yeah, basically, yeah.
Oh, then how do you account for members of extended families having different political beliefs?
Well, not everyone inherits the bad DNA. So that leftist, yes, they might have a kid that's actually normal and okay, but they've got a higher chance of giving birth to a degenerate. And so we should probably not encourage that. But also, this also gets into something I'm kind of passionate about, and that I don't believe the government has the right to tell you what to do about anything. So I don't think that the government has any... I mean, as soon as the government passes a law, they then need to work out a way to police it. And then I start saying, well, it ends up getting corrupted and it becomes a scam, and I have to pay my taxes, and I don't want to do that.
The government, certainly, there is a role in law enforcement for, preventing and punishing murder, I mean, that's not a victimless
Yeah,
crime.
but I don't believe the problem with the government is as soon as you pass the law, then you need to pay for the policemen to enforce the law and the judges to enforce the law, and then you need to tax people to do that. And I don't believe they should take our tax money. So if I was in charge of my own government, basically there almost would be no government, because I would be like, I don't want to steal your money. And I'd say to the citizens, I'm not passing these laws because if I pass these laws, I have to steal your money to enforce these laws.
But how do you stop home invasions, burglaries, and rape and murder?
Well, when you have a citizenry that are left alone, we work out ways to protect ourselves. And the government actually encourage criminals. And if you look at places where there's little limited government, they're actually quite safe and pretty good. If you look at places where there's government everywhere, like Melbourne, there's lots of crime and mafia and all these problems. So the truth about our society is that the government has caused all these problems, and then they're telling us, give us more funding and we're going to solve those problems. That's all bullshit. They've caused all the problems.
The debate about the merits of a libertarian voluntarist society, which we could probably go into another hour of debate, which I certainly have done with libertarians over the years when I was part of the movement, but we should probably leave it there.
Well, you're probably too drunk to have a debate at the moment, Tim. You probably just want to pass out on the floor or something.
Excuse me. I think I've been pretty coherent in response. You've been pretty aggro tonight. I think that's the wine that you've had.
No, Tim, if you had to deal with a co-host that comes late to the show, delays the whole show because he freaking drinks. He drinks all the time. And I'm concerned about you, Tim. I don't want you getting some disease.
Andy is extra aggro tonight because he had a drink.
Tim, my aggroness is my real deep concern about you and your health, and I think you're going to die in like 5 years' time from some alcoholism problem or some shit. Tim, just cut off the drinks.
I only drink on this program to basically, well, roll you up.
I want to find out the truth about you and your alcoholism, and I don't know how many days a week, but hopefully it's just for this show and it's not like an everyday thing. Anyway, we should finish the show, huh?
Yeah, and we'll finish off. Don't vote early and vote often like a Labor Party MP encouraged. Vote once on referendum day so that your vote is counted on the day, and write in pen. You're allowed to bring your own pen to write no in pen. And also there's Ricardo Bossi who is saying, oh, don't vote at all, which of course that only benefits the yes vote. So
and don't follow Ricardo Bossi because he's with QAnon. And what's QAnon? It's deep state. It's a whole CIA operation. It's a controlled opposition, and Ricardo Bossi is questionable. I don't even think he knows that he's being manipulated. But anyway, it doesn't surprise me that he doesn't want people to vote no.
It's the girl that has a crush on you, Dia. He's Dia's mate.
Oh, Dia's good friends with Ricardo Bossi.
Yeah.
Wow. Anyway, I look into controlled oppositions heaps and the CIA and how they run their own opposition, and it's an interesting tactic, and there's just so much going on with that, and it's just like, whoa. It's just the government create their own enemy, back them, and then fuck up that enemy, and it's just, and they keep it running for years and years and years, and that's what QAnon is. And Ricardo Bossi used to be a part of the military. I really question people who used to be involved with the government or have family connections with the government. Just walls. I would stay away from them.
Yeah, Nolch also loves Monica Schmidt as well. She's still single. You're smitten with Smith.
What makes you think that, Tim?
Well, I think we've spoken about this before. She's always in this chat, as is Dia.
Oh, I thought that was because Dia and her were in the chat because they liked me.
Yeah, but you like the attention as well.
Well, I can't comment about Dia because I don't want to be rude, so we should probably end the show. I can't
normally
say anything.
you want to wrap up the show pretty quickly, but now that you've had a drink, you want to keep going on rants and tangents all night.
Yeah, well, Tim, you're making the show go for so long. It's supposed to finish at like 45 minutes, and we just keep on going on. Anyway,
I'll shut it down.
Look,
good night, everybody.
Yeah, we don't want the video getting banned. If I keep on talking about Dia, the video will get banned. Okay.
All right, we'll shut it down. Goodbye, everybody. I'll see you next week for Tim's News Explosion and the Theorists. Again, good night, everybody.
And follow Andy Nolch's Telegram.